Thank you. May I request fellow student speakers from Banasthali Vidyapeeth, Samya Arora, third year BTech Chemical, Anshika Agarwal, third year BTech Mechatronics, Urvashi Tomar, third year BTech Computer Science, and Parul Than, third year BTech EC, to offer floral tributes to the legendary and eminent Sir Moksha Gundam Vishweshwarya, pressing any key in their devices. So, let us begin our celebration by welcoming our keynote speaker, Mr. K.F. Viswanathan, Vice President, Industry Initiative of NASSCOM Bangalore, India, from September 2011 till date. Chief Operating Officer in MST Wellcome Trust, Heyman Laboratories, Head of New Initiative, Azim Premji Foundation, Chief Executive, India Operations, Wipro Infotech Limited, Managing Director at Dell India, and an alumnus of BITS Pilani. Sir, can we have your presentation, please?
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, my young friends and the faculty members. Congratulations on celebrating Engineers Day in your campus. What a pleasure for me to address the young girls of Banasthali Vidyapeeth today on this auspicious day, 15th of September. We celebrate this day as Engineers Day to celebrate the birthday of Sri M. Vishweshwaraya, the architect of modern engineering India. More than celebrating his name, more than remembering on this important day, this is an opportunity for us to reflect what great contribution the Indian engineers have made in the last 5 decades, and the great opportunity that all of us have and all of you have to make a significant impact in the next 5 decades. India is an inflection point. Indian engineering industry as an inflection point. Just to give an important aspect, the Indian engineering export, engineering and design exports from India is approximately about US dollars 32 billion. That's approximately 210,000 crores, expected to grow to about 100 billion US dollars by 2030. Within a span of this 10 years, the expected engineering is going to be 4x. We are anticipating that growth, and that growth cannot be fulfilled but for availability of great engineers, men and women like you. Currently, the world is undergoing through what is called a perfect storm. The world industry is going through a perfect storm. The demand is increasing rapidly. So is the supply catching up with them. We require good research. We require good PhD program. We require good master's program. We require terrific undergraduate program, what Banasthali Vidyapeeth is producing in all of you. Whether you're a chemical engineer, whether you're a mechanical engineer, whether you're an instrumentation engineer or an electronics engineer, computer science engineer, future is galore. This decade we are calling as techade. Every business cannot run without technology being inbuilt in it. Do you know, for example, my young friends, every Mercedes-Benz car that gets driven in the world is touched by an engineer from India. Every world stock trading organization transaction that takes place in the globe is touched by an Indian engineer, men and women. Every retail platform that gets created, web online platform that created in the world is touched by an Indian engineer, men and women. So all of you are creating the powerhouse for future business transaction. So I would urge all of you to continue the spirit of learning, application of engineering, and make India proud the way your elders have done in the last 5 decades. When we were operating, we had limited opportunities in terms of internet, in terms of bandwidth, a Wi-Fi, broadband bandwidth, in terms of availability of data information through Google search. Now, many of the data is available at your fingertips. You're all what we call digital natives, grew up in environment where smartphone, data, everything is available to you much earlier. So leverage all of them, build your analytics skills, build your thought leadership, what is required, build your process capability skill, and emerge successful as India gets into the new generation of decade as we're planning for. This day is also important because the important work, very and serious work that faculty members are doing, either pursuing research activities or in terms of pursuing their academic programs to make you successful, and of course, chiseling you as a good individual from being a good engineer. So continue being a good individual, somebody who can understand humanness of the problem rather than being purely a technology solution to the problem. Look at that. You would be wonderfully brilliant as you go across. The women students who are pursuing engineering courses such as in your institution, what I would urge you to have an open mind. This opportunity, what you have for women engineers, this industry, Indian IT industry, about 31% of people who join the industry are women workforce. Fortunately, or I would say fortunately, all of them continue this journey as a technical staff in about, say, 10 years' time. In 10 to 15 years' time, they shift to management. I'm calling that unfortunate. Very few women leaders continue to work in the engineering field for a longer period of time for various reasons. This industry is now working through a program to ensure that women industries have a successful career, create you as a role model, and present role model to you can mentor you to be successful in your managing multiple facets of life. Especially last 18 to 20 months time has been tough for all of us. I'm sure all of you are leveraging the time what you get to do remotely, working with your friends, enjoying time with your friends to build the social engineering that is required to bring together to a greater cost aspect of life as you grow forward. So congratulations to all the students of on this day. Happy celebration of Engineering Day. You are an important component to the growth of this industry. I'm sure when we reflect after this decade or 10 years, we'll find that every engineer is now touching every spacecraft, every engineering touching every hydrogen car. Every engineer from India, men and women, are touching the next generation architecture for aerospace engineering. Climate control, all of you can contribute. This day is bright day for you. This day is bright day for us, all of us who grew up in this environment. This bright day is very important for India as a country to shine a Mahan hai. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best. And there's anything that we can do as an elders in this industry to grow the industry, feel free. Your my good friend and Professor Dean Natarajan is very good friend of ours. Just be in touch with him. He's again maintaining a very good job in maintaining a relationship with the industry and the student. We are happy to support you all. Jai Hind. All the best to you. Bye-bye. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. That's very enlightening. Now, I'd like to invite Aditi Singh, Vice President, Innovative Chemical Engineers Club, to tell us more about Sir Gundam Vishweshwarya.
Namaste. Good evening, everyone. I, Aditi Singh, Vice President of ICE Club, stand here to honor Sir Mokshagandham Vishweswarya. 15 September, the day is a homage to commemorate one of the finest, India's finest engineers, Mokshagandham Vishweswarya. In a small village called Muddanalli in Karnataka, Sir Mokshagandham Vishweswarya was born in 1860. Due to his various contributions to the field and being a pioneer of education, he is called as VM Sir. His birthday on 15 September is celebrated as Engineers Day because it was this genius who created many engineering marvels across India. Sir M.V. Forsyth resulted in primary education being made compulsory in Mysore and also led to initiatives for educating girls. Having lived up to the age of 101 years, the engineering contributions of Sir M.V. spent over 80 years as an excellent engineer, a visionary nation builder, and an exemplary human being. Sir M.V. spoke about the planning model and the first decade of 20th century. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the architect of modern India, borrowed the idea for planned economy from Sir M. Vishweswarya. Sir M.V. was the one who showed vision in starting the Department of Meteorology, Department of Aeronautics, and Internal Combustion Engine in Indian Institute of Science. Sir M.V. was the General President of the 10th session of the Indian Science Congress Association in 1923. Bhadravati was selected by Sir M.V. to set up an industrial enterprise because he believed that steel was the basic ingredient to industrial growth. Because of this, the Mysore wood distillation and iron works were set up, and soon the woods were converted into charcoal through the process of distillation. It was developed in Indian Institute of Science at the request of Sir M.V. Producing charcoal has a very solid reason because the intended product, the big iron, simply could not be produced if the iron ores were not reduced in the blast furnace in the presence of coke, which took oxygen away from the compound. Coke was not available at that time. The closest was the charcoal, which could do the job. The charcoal blast furnace instead installed in 1923 made it in the Bhadravati for the first plant in Asia to undertake big iron using charcoal. Sir M.V. was accredited for the construction of system that was beneficial for flood protection in Hyderabad. Later, his techniques proved successful to make Vishakhapatnam port soil erosion free. He was credited for Krishna Raja Sagar Dam construction. He was also responsible for bringing out certain effective irrigation techniques, especially in Deccan region. He also designed aromatic barriers, water flood gates, and drainage systems. Honored with the Bharat Ratna in 1955, Sir M. Visweswarya was a preeminent engineer, scholar, and statesman of India. The engineering community across India celebrate 15 September as Engineers Day as a tribute to the greatest engineer, Sir M. Visweswarya. Happy Engineers Day. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, Aditi. That was very enlightening. Now, I would like to invite our next expert, Mr. Ayush Agarwal, research scholar at Scherrer Institute, Switzerland from February 2020, consultant at Icon International Consulting Network, international student ambassador of BTech Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm, Sweden, visiting research scholar at University of Michigan, USA, engineer at Ultratech, and an alumnus of BITS Pilani, KTH Royal Institute of Technology, EPFL. He also worked with a chemical engineer, Scott Fogler. So, sir, your presentation.
Hello everyone, I am Ayush and I am a PhD student at the Paul Scherrer Institute and the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Lausanne in Switzerland. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Natarajan for giving me this opportunity to speak to you on the 54th Engineers Day celebration at Banasthali. Look around. Every single object that you can touch and see has been made possible by an engineer. Even this device that you're using to stream or broadcast my talk, to the dress that you are wearing right now, everything. Engineering is the art of converting science into technology. I'm a chemical engineer myself, and today I'm going to share some of the lessons that I learned throughout my journey from my mentors and professors. So, what is engineering all about? First of all, it's about making things cost effective. No technology would do any good if it were inaccessible to the masses. For example, if iodized salt was an expensive commodity, we would not have been able to afford it. Secondly, engineering is about making things safe. As engineers, it's our prime responsibility to make sure of this. Seat belts are such a common device, but they save millions and millions of lives every year. Thirdly, engineering is about the scalability. Very loosely speaking, all of the world's problems have been solved in the laboratories already. But the real challenge comes when we take it to the real world and we take it to the industrial scale. In fact, there are few technologies or products that make economic sense if and only if they are produced at large scale, and cement is a prime example. Up next, the engineering is also about sustainability. If I give you an example of fossil-based fuel and energy products, they meet all the previous three criteria in today's world, but meeting these three criteria are not enough. You have to be sustainable because we have just one planet to live. So we have to take care of it as well for our own survival. And last but not the least, engineering is also about social viability. For example, nuclear power plants meet all the previous four criteria: cost, scalability, safety, and even sustainability. They are emission-free sources of energy. But because it has certain risks, people just do not accept it. And that's where we have to live with it. So if your technology is meeting all the five criteria, you can make the world a better place. So my dear friends, as engineers, we have a big responsibility. The responsibility to use the knowledge and training we are receiving to bridge the gap between technical know-why and the technical know-how. I'm sure with the world-class training that you are receiving at Banasthali, you are going to fulfill this challenge with flying colors. So I wish you all the best and happy Engineers Day.
Thank you, sir. That was really very helpful for us. Now, the branch of engineering, which is a fusion of experimental science and life sciences, along with a pinch of mathematics and economics. Any guesses which branch I'm talking about? Yes, chemical engineering branch. So, we have our student speaker, Samya Arora of third year, to share her thoughts as an aspiring chemical engineer. Samya, can we have your presentation?
A very warm welcome and greetings to all leading lights, faculties, staff members and all my dear friends. We all are assembled here to celebrate 54th Engineers Day. In India, 15 September, a golden day celebrated by engineering community every year. The selected date was chosen in honor of the born day of legendary engineer Dr. M. Visvesvaraya, who contributed in the field of engineering with his vision of making it come true. Paying tribute to his dedication, I, Samya Arora from Chemical Engineering Department, wish you all Happy Engineers Day and sincerely present this speech. The bomb of SARS-CoV-2 virus, promoter of COVID, bombarded its effects all around the world, emerging as an unprecedented crisis in the human history, resulting in millions of fatal victims. From several research groups to industrial companies and government have been spending efforts to develop vaccines and medication. Then how can chemical engineers step back to this service? Fluid dynamics analysis tools have been a critical aspect to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Previous investigations that focus on understanding the behavior of virus-laden particles on air gave to health organizations as WHO, CDC, and ECDC sufficient information to prescribe measures to reduce virus speed to spread. One measure include interpersonal distance of 1.5 to 2 meters from each other. Installation of HVAC filter reduces at least 90% of droplets nuclei, and the remaining droplets persist even more diluted in the air and spread among all over the airspace. Resulting for this condition indicate that it is necessary a 10 meter cube per minute per occupant room ventilation all over the room, using a well-fitted HVAC system to prevent virus spreading. The chemical engineer is a complete profession, and together with 3D printing is capable to create innovative solutions for chemical engineering processes, uses critical sense and analytical capacity to develop solutions and to solve problems. Shortness of breath is one of the most serious symptoms. This symptom is responsible for the most part of hospitalization. Once the infected patient is not capable to supply oxygen to the body tissues, requiring mechanical ventilators used in the hospital's intensive care units, that is ICU, to treat severe cases. Therefore, the use of individual protection equipment, that is IPE, including masks and face shields that provides a protection barrier. This protection is even more fundamental for the medical team and essential service professionals that directly deal with the infected patient. The growing N95 mask is capable to retain particles up to 0.3 mm in the air with an efficiency of 95%. N95 masks are disposable, and due to the growing demand, face shields also experience a market scarcity due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sampling collector for COVID-19 test. Diagnosis test is a fundamental parameter to regulate the public policy for pandemic control. For example, the definition of social distancing rules. This test employs nasal swabs, a kind of flexible plastic rod with cotton on one of the tips. Due to the lack of these biological material collectors, 3D printers were used to supply the demand. These innovative microfluidic based detection comes in play. These are the method which must always fast and sensible than traditional methods, ensuring an immediate and safe response to the patient. Another desirable feature is to transform the product into a personalized detection method. Comparing the design device to the traditional PCR, device is 100 times more sensible and with superior velocity, taking its competitive for the respiratory virus detection. Chemical engineers are collaborating with the virologists to help expedite SARS-CoV-2 antiviral drug screening by incorporating nanovesicles into a high throughput screening process. Institution of Chemical Engineers, developers of the COVID-19 vaccine, to be congratulated in massively accelerating the program of development and clinical trials. What normally takes 10 to 12 years has been carried out in less than 12 months in some cases. Massive expansion invites more human forces to emphasis on production level with different position requirements and creating more jobs. At last, I would like to add, engineers create. So, it's proud to be an engineer. Thank you.
Thank you, Samya, for sharing your thoughts. Now, I would like to invite our next expert, Ms. Pragati Sharma, chemical engineer at Honeywell, UOP Gurgaon, and proud Banasthalite of BTech Chemical Engineering batch of 2016 to 20. Ma'am, can we have your presentation, please?
Hello everyone, I'm very honored to speak to all of you as we gather here today for 54th Engineers Day celebration at Banasthali Vidyapeeth. I am Pragati Sharma of batch 2016-2020 and I am currently working at Honeywell UOP as chemical engineer. So I am here to talk to you all about this year's theme, that is engineers for skill development and employment in combating COVID. For that matter, I have segregated a list of characteristics that are required to become a successful engineer. But as I will go down the list, I want you all to relate to me and listen very carefully and tell me later if you were able to accomplish some of them or maybe all of them. So first one, we have teamwork. We all know that teamwork drives a successful completion of a project or a task. So like right now you are in college, you are given a task and somebody don't want to work with anyone. So that's the thing which all of us would like to stay away from. And to get a task done, we need others to contribute as well. And for that matter of fact, we need to be a team player. Next, we have creativity. It may sound cliche, but all successful engineers have an innate ability to think outside the box. Yes, think outside the box. So you might have heard this phrase a many number of times, but why is this phrase pushed so hard? That is because this phrase sums up an engineer. An engineer should be someone who is passionate and creative in solving problems for others. So we have to be very detailed and precise when we are trying to solve others' problem in order to become successful. And creativity plays a major role in that. Next, we have problem solving. Any project, no matter how big or small they are, will definitely face problems. And as an engineer, you should acquire problem solving skills in very basic manner, that you are able to help others without patronizing them. You are able to translate the technical jargon that we have into layman's language or layman's term to make them understand of the problem they are facing. And that's how you can identify the root cause of any problem. Next up, we have analytical ability. So the ability to solve problems goes hand in hand with the ability to properly analyze problems. And engineers are required to think analytically in order to create solutions. So before proposing a particular solution to a firm or a business or your teammates, you have to analyze what you are proposing. You have to analyze what solutions are you going to give them and how is it going to be sustainable in the future. So that analytical ability you can improve by working on a lot of projects. So next we have communication skills. This one seems to be easy, but it's not that easy. Like as you can see, we didn't know the pandemic will struck us this heavily, and we will be stuck in our home and our places, and we will be talking to ourselves over video calls or cameras. So communication skills is something that you can improve and adjust as per the time. So this completely depends upon the demand of the time. So for an engineer, it means the ability to not only understand technical complexities, but how are you able to express what you are feeling for a particular problem arising. So communication skills are very important and it's not easy. You have to develop over years all of these things. Next we have logical thinking. So to fully comprehend the complex systems, an engineer must understand all the aspects of the system. An engineer must know how the system works, what can go wrong, and what can he or she do to fix it. So this requires the ability to think logically. Next we have attention to detail. So successful engineers pay huge amount of attention to smallest of the detail occurring in a system. So they understand that a slight error can cause a structure to fail or a system to malfunction. So when you are working on something, when you have given all your creativity into it, you tend to notice all the details about the particular task. Next we have mathematical ability. So you all must be questioning that software has replaced almost all of the complex derivative equations that engineers do, but why do we need to have mathematical skills in era like this? So let me be very straight to you. Even though as an engineer we are no longer required to do these complex calculations then by ourselves, it doesn't mean that we don't need to understand how the process is coming up, how the solution has been reached. So in order to understand that mechanism, we have to have precise knowledge in mathematics as well. So you must be well versed in calculus, as you all know that my second years and third year juniors must be coming across some calculus and huge calculations in the projects or in the assignments. So you have to understand that you have to have precise knowledge in mathematics in order to understand a process. Last but not the least, leadership. Leadership qualities is something that you just can't force onto yourself. You have to develop it within yourself and show it to the world. And how can you do it? Suppose you are assigned a project with other girls in your class and then you want to assign yourself as a leader. Will that work? Not until you definitely prove yourself that you are a good leader. And how can you prove yourself? A leader is someone who takes suggestions from everyone in the field, everyone in the group, and then demands a solution on that. And if that solution comes to a conclusion by every teammates and they are motivated to do the solution as you said, you are a true leader in true sense. Now let's talk about employment options in pandemic like this. So when this situation struck our country, we all were deprived of a lot of things. Many of the people lost their jobs. Many of the people were left with no options. But because they had skills, they all decided to work in this situation. And as you all know that we all are currently working from home, or as you guys must know that you are taking online classes. So I want you to understand this one fact, that no matter what, we are engineers and we try to adjust and adapt to every situation. And that's what sets us apart. So to understand that fully, you have to be enthusiastic and innovative as you decide whatever is good for your career or path forward. You can take assistance from your seniors, from your alumni, from us. You can ask our numbers easily from our HOD Natrajan sir, who is very helpful in all these matters, and you should be very hopeful and positive about your outlook of the future. So to end on that note, an engineer is someone who can adjust and adapt to every environment on the need basis. Have a good day and enjoy everyone. Best of luck.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your words of wisdom. Combination of approximately 7 branches of engineering, from computer science to mechanical engineering. This is which branch I'm talking about, the mechatronics branch. So, I welcome Anshika Agarwal to enlighten us about mechatronics branch of engineering. Her dream city is New York, USA. Anshika, can we have your presentation, please?
Good morning everyone. My name is Anshika Agarwal and I am a mechatronics engineering student of Banasthali Vidyapeeth. And I am here to speak on the topic Engineering for Skill Development and Employment in Combating COVID. On March 23, 2020, lockdown was announced all over the country. The government ordered to close every sectors including business, entertainment and transportation in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Due to the lockdown, everyone was suffering a lot and there was a huge depression in the economy. So the government decided to partially open important sectors like hospitals and business that were important for living, with some mandatory restrictions like wearing masks, using sanitizer, maintaining social distancing and staying at home until it's necessary to go out. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing or breathe. That increase the risk of spreading COVID as the coronavirus pandemic evolves. Technological applications and initiatives are multiplying in an attempt to stop the spread of the disease. Production of sanitizer, oxygen cylinders and masks in larger quantity treat patients and take the pressure off overworked healthcare workers, while also developing new effective vaccines. At the time when everyone needs better information including epidemic disease, modelers, state authorities, international organizations and people in quarantine or maintaining social distancing, digital information and surveillance technology have been unleashed in an unprecedented manner to collect data and reliable evidence to support public health decision making. Automation is playing an important role in this pandemic as artificial intelligence, robots and drones are being deployed to help track the disease and enforce restrictive measures. AI has been used mainly to help detect whether people have novel coronavirus through the detection of visual signs of COVID-19 on image from computerized tomography, lung scans to monitor in a real time, change in body temperature through the use of wearable sensors, and to provide an open source data platform to track the spread of the disease. AI can process vast amount of unstructured text data to predict the number of potential new cases by area and which type of population will be most at risk, as well as to evaluate and optimize strategies for controlling the spread of the epidemics. Other AI application can deliver medical supplies by drone that plays a really important role in transportation of medicine and necessary things, disinfecting patient room, hospital areas under hotspot of COVID, and scan approved drugs database for medicine that might also work against COVID-19. AI technologies have been harnessed to come up with new molecules that could serve as potential medicators or even accelerate the time taken to predict the virus RNA secondary structures. A series of risk assessment algorithms for COVID-19 for use in healthcare setting have been developed, including an algorithm for the main actions that need to be followed for managing contacts of probable or confirmed COVID-19 cases. Certain AI application can also detect fake news about the disease by applying machine learning technique for mining social media information, tracking down words that are sensational or alarming, and identifying which online sources are deemed authoritative for fighting what has been called an infodemic. Improvements in automation technology allow machine to do many tasks that previously required human, like in serving COVID patient thermal scanning. The pandemic accelerated their adoption because they are unaffected by COVID and can stop the spread more than humans. And most importantly, we are able to give vaccines to a large number of population because of the machine developed to produce large amount of vaccines. Their storage and preservance and supply, everything depends on the automation engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshika. That was really very informative. So, proceeding further, I would like to invite our next expert, Mr. Prateek, Lithography Process Technology Development Engineer at Intel Corporation, Hillsboro, Oregon, USA, from November 2017. Associate Technical Process at KBR Incorporated, of BITS Pilani and Ohio State University, USA. So, can we have your presentation with?
Hello everyone, I am Prateek and it gives me great pleasure to address the proud Banasthalites on this occasion of 54th Engineers Day, and for this I would like to thank Professor B.R. Natarajan for giving me this wonderful opportunity to address future engineers, scientists, planetary leaders that will make India proud. I was asked to keep my talk brief, and so I would say something generic that you can apply to any problems and succeed. For no problem is greater than human capacity to solve them. And I call this the recipe for success. Every recipe calls for certain ingredients, and this recipe for success has 7 ingredients. The first ingredient for success is the will to win, the firm determination to succeed. This is the fuel for your recipe. I will be successful in whatever task I take, whether it be small, mundane, everyday tasks or your mission in life. You know, there are 3 categories of people. The third category never starts a job for fear of failure. The second category starts a job, but as soon as they face an obstacle, they quit. And the first category, they never quit. They learn from the failures, and they are the ones who become leaders and are successful. So be the first category. The second ingredient for success is always keep your goal in mind. This is the gravy for your recipe. Whether it be your short-term goals or your long-term goals, keep on working towards them continuously, and you will see you will succeed. Whether you want to learn a new instrument or meditate, start doing regularly and you will see you will succeed. The third great ingredient for success is always have respect for your mentors, teachers and guru. This is the appliance where your recipe will be cooked. You all are very talented, and your talents will be polished by these mentors. So if you don't have one, find a great mentor and work with them to succeed. The fourth great ingredient is always maintain your mental equilibrium or your mental equipoise. This is the spice and condiments for your recipe. If you can keep your mind when all about you are losing theirs, then you have won, and that's what leaders do for their success. You should never suffer from any inferiority complex, defeatist complex, or superiority complex also for that matter, and that's why you should maintain mental equilibrium. The fifth great ingredient for success is develop self-control or self-restraint. This is the salt and sugar in your recipe. It will help you in your flawless execution towards success. If you can control your mind, you can control your destiny. Without self-restraint, it's very hard not to deviate from your path that will lead you to success. The sixth great ingredient is have a balanced diet. A balanced diet will keep you energized and replenished, and it's good for your mind, body and soul. You will be happy, in high spirits, and that will enable you to your success and in your right attitude. This is the cherry on top of your recipe. Now, what is the final ingredient? The seventh ingredient? My dear friends, there is no seventh ingredient because your recipe is already great. So, always work towards your problem in a coordinated cooperation, and you will see that you will overcome all your obstacles. With this, I'll say thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Prateek sir, for giving us your recipe for success. We really enjoyed.
The science of basically runs the world. You know which branch I'm talking
Student speaker, Urvashi Tomar, to speak her mind about computer science. Urvashi, can we have your presentation, please?
Hi, I'm Urvashi, Computer Science undergraduate from Banasthali Vidyapeeth. On the 54th Engineers Day, I'm here to talk on engineers for skill development and employment in combating COVID. The COVID-19 pandemic in India has critically impacted the employment figures and triggered one of the worst job crises. Hiring freezing, pay cutoffs are common, which has affected the workforces to a very large extent. The real danger lies in the fact that this crisis can increase the poverty and widen inequalities. Rebuilding a stronger and resilient labor market is an investment in the future and future generations that must be made. The technical interventions are of significant need. Timely developing the relevant skills can empower people and safeguard their future while focusing on the overall development of an individual. It intensifies the productivity and quality of work, providing significant outcomes. Focusing on the current scenario, India is in a great need to train the youths and skill them, as in today's era, many organizations prefer skilled employees over the less skilled employees because they believe that they have the outstanding career growth and their proficient working can lead to the growth of organization as well. During the pandemic, India's evolving technical and vocational education and training ecosystem, that is TVET, has faced many challenges, such as reaching their customers, ensuring quality training, and connecting the trained youths to the jobs in the initial phase. And this ecosystem actually includes the vocational education providers, short-term skill development programs, followed by many others. Distance learning alternatives could not replace the face-to-face classes, and many also face the infrastructure and human resource-related challenges. While participants from low-income background were not equipped enough in digital infrastructure, the trainers were also not equipped enough to deliver the virtual training, depriving the students and teachers of an effective common space to learn and work. This stuff later, gradually in the later phase, the technological familiarity increases and the staff is also being trained to deliver the online training effectively. Also, initiatives such as providing training to the students at discounted rates are also being adopted. Several technological advancements have been made during this time. The advanced technologies have also contributed in combating COVID. Data science is contributing to limiting the spread of COVID-19. The spread of global pandemic has generated a huge and varied amount of data, which is increasing rapidly, and which can provide the opportunities for applying data analytics tools that are also likely to improve the healthcare services. The data collected so far can help in managing population movement, contact, detect, and quickly isolate sources. Recently, companies have bought pandemic data gathering in-house in order to develop their own exclusive intelligence. Internal track and respond command centers have also been set up in some of the enterprising companies for guiding their employees and customers through the current crisis. Besides, big data technology can store a massive amount of information about people that are being infected by this virus, helping in understanding the nature of this virus in detail. And further, this gathered data can be trained over again to develop the future preventive methods. Based on data science, machine learning, big data, various AI-powered projects have been used across the range of fields for predicting, explaining, and managing the different scenarios which caused by this health crisis. AI implementation are predicting early COVID-19 symptoms and hence controlling the spread of this infection. It is also being used in screening and tracing patients using algorithms that process the data to identify insightful patterns. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are also being applied to facilitate the rapid development of therapeutics and vaccines. AI processes a lot of information, providing routes to therapeutic interventions. For instance, what drugs could be used to prevent the antigens on the outside of the virus. Machine learning enabled chatbots for contactless screening of COVID-19 patients, the symptoms, and to answer the questions from the public are being implemented for healthcare and government institutions. In addition to data science and AI, robotics have been deployed to sanitize the hospitals, Some use ultraviolet radiations to minimize the health workers' exposure to the virus. They are also being involved to deliver the food, medications, and to take patients' temperature. Drones have also several applications such as transportation and spraying the disinfectants and much more. Facial recognition technology and infrared cameras are that can automatically read body temperature are being used for developing smart helmets. So these are some areas which can provide a broader opportunity for employment, provided you have the relevant skills. Virtual learning can be challenging, but on the plus side, it allows you to learn at your own pace. If followed with sincerity, the outcomes will lead to a spectacular growth of the organization and the person with significant societal benefits. With the appropriate guidance and relevant skills applied in the right direction, we have the potential to deal with the current and post-pandemic challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Urvashi. Now, I would like to invite our next expert, Ms. Nishtha Gupta. She is currently an analyst at Deloitte, New Delhi, and proud Banasthalite BTech Chemical Engineering batch of 2015 to 2019. Ma'am, can we have your presentation?
Hi everyone, this is Nishtha here. Hope you all are doing great and a very happy Engineers Day to all of you. Today I am here to talk about 5 most important skills needed in data analysis. So I think we should start without further ado. Number 1 is the data preparation skills, which can be further divided into 4 different kind of steps. So number 1 is finding the right kind of data sources. So find out whether a data is coming from a table or a SQL database or web pages, because you need to extract them eventually. Okay, so finding out the right kind of data resources or getting the information about the origin of your data is very, very important. Number 2 is the data cleaning. Because initially when we receive data, it has numerous amount of null values, missing values, or the duplicate values. So there is a need to clean all those kind of different values so that our analysis can be more accurate and precise. Okay, and the third one is combining data. So basically when our data is coming from various different kind of resources, let's say our data is coming from 2 different kind of tables, we need to combine those data using joins or intersections. Number 4 is data transformation. So transforming the data into a very useful form is important, and it can be done using various techniques. Okay, so that was the data preparation skills. Number 2 is number crunching or playing with numbers. So basically what we do in number crunching becomes the most important, interesting and essential part of data analysis. So basically doing the statistical analysis, doing the trend analysis or the experimental analysis are a part of number crunching. Basically what we're trying to do, trying to find the different kind of patterns and trends involved in the data, trying to find out the different kind of statistical values, for example, mean, mode, median. This all comes under number crunching. Third one is storytelling skills. Basically what we are trying to do is we are not preparing things for ourselves, right? We are preparing analysis, we are preparing things for somebody else, and therefore there is a need to present a story, and therefore there is a need to build those storytelling skills. What do I mean by storytelling skills? Basically we are trying to present our data in a more useful form, or in the form of a story, using various charts or dashboards. Okay, and number 4 is asking the right kind of question. Sometimes asking the right kind of question is all what data analysis needs. So basically try to ask questions like, why do we need this? What is the purpose of doing what we are trying to achieve, right? What is the problem statement? How it can be done and how can we display it? So asking these kind of questions makes it easy to proceed further. Last but not the least, number 5, we have technical skills. So basically in order to implement above 4 mentioned skills, you need to understand certain kind of technical skills. So basically what do I mean by technical skills? You need to start learning any of the programming languages. So you can either start with Python or R, followed by understanding certain kind of mathematical concepts such as linear algebra or differentiation or calculus and statistics. So I think most of us has already covered these kind of concepts during our undergraduation or plus two, and I think it will be easy for you guys also to recapitulate those concepts. Right, and I think that is it. And number third is you can start learning SQL database tool, and number four, we have certain kind of data visualization tool basically. So we have Power BI or Tableau, so you can start learning either of them, and I think you will be good to go. And I think yeah, that was all about all the technical skills, and I think I was able to deliver a brief gist about what it takes to be a data analyst. So if you guys have any kind of query or doubts, please kindly connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will be happy to help you guys. I think you guys will be able to research more and learn more. Thank you very much. Hope you guys have a wonderful career ahead. All the very best, and happy Engineers Day once again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for guiding us. Branch of engineering involves researching, designing, developing, testing of electronic equipments used in various. Yes, electronics and communication engineering. We have our next student speaker, Parul Khan, to share her thoughts about her branch. Parul, can we have your presentation?
Hey everyone, I'm Parul Dhand, an engineering student, or I should say an engineer in making. I'm an electronics and communication engineer. So first of all, a very happy Engineers Day to each and every one of you, and thanks to Natarajan sir for giving me this opportunity. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about different aspects of engineering. Like we all know कि एक engineer कौन होते हैं and what they do. Okay, but apart from that, there are engineers who enter into engineering to explore different fields, or I should say कि engineering में आने के बाद में most of us get to know what exactly we want to do, or I should say what our passions are. Actually, we explore that, right? So this is what happened with me last year when this pandemic came. I started exploring freelancing. So I used to take a lot of freelancing content writing projects. Okay, so with that I got this idea that okay, by using this skill of mine I can provide jobs to a lot of people. And when I say a lot of people, I'm currently providing a job, or I should say I'm currently working with a team of 12 people, right? So this is the opportunity that I think this pandemic has created for me and for many engineers, or in general for many people, opportunity called as entrepreneurship, right? So first of all, before jumping on to anything, I would just like to share a few things about what an entrepreneur is and how you can think about what actually entrepreneurs are. Okay, so what we try to do is try to fill that particular gap into two things, or I should say एक ऐसी प्रॉब्लम जिसका सॉल्यूशन तो हर किसी को चाहिए, पर उसका सॉल्यूशन होगा क्या? No one actually knows that. But what does an entrepreneur does is try to solve that problem. I'll just quickly give you an example. Right now I'm shooting this video on a tripod. So before tripods were invented, what we used to do is to take 2-3 pillows and then set up this phone or maybe the cameras, and or we used to set up some books actually, और उसके बाद में we used to set up this camera, right? But when this tripod came, it is actually a problem solving thing. Right now I've just plug in this phone and I'm shooting this video quite easily. You can just mold this tripod. So basically what is happening is someone, or I should call as some entrepreneurs, have solved this problem for many people like me. Now we can easily shoot our videos, right? But apart from that, actually what is the connection between entrepreneurs and Banasthali? So maybe most of you don't know about it. So I'll just quickly give you this idea that there is a center called as Atal Incubation Center in Banasthali, through which you can fund your startup, or you can actually learn about startups. So Banasthali, being the women's second highest ranked university, is providing you that opportunity just under one roof. Why don't you want to take that opportunity? Just grab that opportunity and start creating more jobs for the people around you, and that is the only way possibly that I see we can reduce the unemployment rate of our country. And we as an engineer should, step up and start exploring different aspects of engineering also. And apart from that, we can explore different things as well. But what I am trying to say here is that, just start taking out some time, explore different things, take help from Atal Incubation Center. Whatever ideas you have, just share it with them. They will help you step by step how you can build this startup or that startup. And then obviously, if Banasthali is providing you that opportunity, just grab that and start your opportunity. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you so much for your time. It really meant a lot for me to shoot this video and send it out to Natarajan sir so that he can share it with you guys. Thank you so much for listening me out. It's me, Parul Dhand, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Parul, for sharing your thoughts and giving us such information. Proceeding towards end of today's celebration, I would like to invite Mr. Pradeep Mishra for his valedictory speech. He is Senior Vice President of Volvo VE Commercial Vehicles, Indore, since January 1996 till date. He is alumnus of BITS Pilani, Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya in Fulbright Fellowship at Carnegie Mellon University, USA, and Royal Roads University, Canada. So, sir, can we have your presentation?
Dr. B.R. Natarajan, Dean and Professor Banasthali Vidyapeeth, faculty members and fellow students. Greetings of the day. I call you all fellow students as I consider myself to a student who is still learning every day from myriad experiences, transactions, and so many other things. First of all, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to Dr. B.R. Natarajan for inviting me to speak on this auspicious day of Engineers Day. I'm grateful, sir, for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and nuggets of wisdom. As you are all aware that the Engineers Day is celebrated to commemorate the birth anniversary of the greatest Indian engineer, Bharat Ratna Mokshagundam Viswesvaraya. Mr. Viswesvaraya was born on September 15, 1861 in the Mudanhalli village of Karnataka. He completed his BA from University of Madras and Civil Engineering from College of Science in Pune. He was appointed Diwan of Mysore from 1912 to 1918 and is credited with construction of famous Krishna Raja Sagar Dam in Mysore. He brought many reforms in the area of education, banking, commerce, agriculture, irrigation, and industrialization. He was bestowed with Bharat Ratna for his stupendous contributions in the field of economy, industry, and social engineering. Today's theme is Engineers for Skill Development and Employment in Combating COVID-19. The heralding of new decade in 2020 was marred by the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. No one imagined in January 2020 that the pandemic will change the course of our lives. Reflecting 18 months, all of us have gone through cycle of disbelief, denial, and despondency at some or the other point of time. We were used to socialize, collaborate, and work together as a team, working on projects and more so on the campus life, spending too much time together. Work culture was that of people connect, interactions, face-to-face communications, town hall meetings, and so on and so forth. All this has changed. Technology-induced metamorphosis has invaded us. Site works are replaced with remote working. Offline in-person classes are replaced with online lectures, recordings, and webinars. We adapted ourselves to the new ways of working, popularly known as the new normal. In the past year, business models have been reinvented. Supply chains across the globe are restructured. Promises of new scientific breakthroughs have been suddenly realized. We also understood that productivity can thrive virtually. It is abundantly clear that a volatile and complex world is changing at an unimaginable pace, size, scale of overwhelming dimensions. In the process of tackling global challenges that even the most forward-thinking leaders never fathomed, organizations have transformed. How do we capitalize on this momentum? How do we accelerate the innovation process we have already tapped? How do we optimize the new global reality? When we talk about skill development and employability in COVID-19 era, it is very important to understand the new trends and changes that are taking place in the work environment, industry, and the world economies. We have been hearing from our childhood, your present is defined by what you did in the past, and what you do now will define your future. In my opinion, this is only partially true in the current context. Certainly, our past defines our present, but at the same time, today, our future defines our present as well. The future, what we thought is a decade away, is already here. It is invading our lives. COVID-19 pandemic accelerated its scale and velocity. And perhaps that is why all of us are too overwhelmed and not fully prepared to accept this reality. The question arises that if future is here, how we prepare ourselves for it now, and what are the trends and the skills that are required beyond today? I'll quickly throw some light onto it. When we were studying engineering, one of the first choices was mechanical engineering, because it was supposed to be an evergreen discipline. And civil engineering was the last preferred choice because of its low employability. While we were passing out, computer science became the most preferred discipline of study and continues to be so. And of course, with major focus on digital data analytics, big data sciences, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. The engineering skill sets that we learned in the earlier years, we need to completely de-skill ourselves and upskill and reskill ourselves based on the trends that are visible now. I would take you through the 6 essential trends that are important for the future success. One is learning from the future. The organizations are using data analytics and artificial intelligence and define strategies that anticipate the future. Rather than focusing on the past trends to forecast the future, organizations are looking forward. They find new patterns in the data and better anticipate future decisions. The new data sets, which include real-time data from across the value chains, are being processed by new analytical approaches, which are based on artificial intelligence. This is known as learning from the future. It is important because it helps us develop forward-looking superior capabilities and skill sets to create and capture opportunities, and also helps us stay one step ahead of the learning curve. Pushed to the edge. Leaders are pushing decision-making authority to people at the edges. They are relying on the highly networked teams to act with speed and agility. Edge organizations leverage the principles of edge computing, which is a decentralized form of computation and data storage that speeds up processing by moving intelligence closer to the point of use. Sustainability, it is the most important and the hot topic today. Organizations are building sustainability into the fabric of their operations. There is a growing consensus that the interests of both society and investors are best served by organizations that focus on multidimensional value creation for the benefit of all stakeholders rather than only the shareholders. Similarly, organizations are structuring their supply chains and moving production to the point of demand. Drastic steps are being taken to keep goods moving and customer order fulfillment throughout the pandemic. We have seen that. Real virtuality. Now, this is very interesting. Now, we have been all hearing about virtual realities. Now, this is something different from virtual reality, as virtual environments enhance our physical worlds and redefine our sense of place. Organizations are creating new ways for people to work, consume, and socialize. Innovative organizations are working to blend virtual and the physical worlds to build what we call real virtuality. As the integration happens, virtual worlds become increasingly realistic. Current virtual reality technology mostly engages our senses of vision and hear. Over time, it will engage all our senses. And we are seeing that the increasing bits of the physical world will in turn have rich virtual interfaces that will create premium experiences. The new scientific method, this is also very, very important trend going forward. The scientific disruptions enables the creation of better, cheaper, and more sustainable products and services. Leading companies are becoming today more scientific companies and apply science to tackle the world's different challenges that we are faced with. For example, development of COVID mRNA vaccine. It is at the convergence of the new frontiers of science. Artificial intelligence was used for research and thousands of virtual simulations were created and run in parallel in the laboratory. Production was accelerated by robotics, enabling speed and accuracy. Outcome of the vaccine was available within 12 months of the onset of pandemic. In the past decade, every company became a digital company. Now, in the coming decade, every company will become a scientific company and will profit from the wave of innovations in this area. So these are the changes which are taking place. And then the question arises, what kind of skill sets are required to be developed? I would say there are 12 skill sets all of us we need to be aware of and learn and make it as part of your capability set besides learning new dimensions of work. The first, learning skills. This skill set has 4 important skills. Critical thinking, ability to solve the problems or problem solving abilities. Creativity, thinking out of the box, innovate and implement. Third, collaboration, ability to work together with others, influence them, and ability to reflect. Communication, ability to talk to others, engage and connect. Second set of skill sets is literacy skills. This skill helps us separate facts from fiction. It prepares us for the future in line with the current trends. There are 3 important skills which are to be learned. Information literacy, our ability to understand facts, figures, statistics, data. Media literacy, our ability to manage and leverage the media like Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Technology literacy, ability to be digital, leverage artificial intelligence, machine learning, NLP, or robotics into our works. Life skills, these are the 5 skills. First one is the flexibility. This is also known as our ability and willingness to make profound strategic shift to embrace change. Adopting a change mindset, which is path breaking, and prepare for a future which is unknown. Now, leadership skills. Simon Sinek, in his famous book, The Infinite Game, he says that an infinite game is a game where players are unknown, rules of the games are changing every moment, there are no winners or losers. Now, if that is the situation, how do you become an infinite game leader? Now, infinite game leader builds an innovative, resilient, trusting, and inspiring organization. He has the courage to embrace change and also leads the change from the front. Initiative, ability to start projects and strategies on your own. Productivity, this is age-old conventional wisdom, doing more with less. Social skills, meeting and networking with others for mutual benefit. Be a giver and not a taker. So as students, as individuals, whether educational institutions like Banasthali or private or public enterprises, all need to be ready to embrace this transformation. This means that we not only react to the challenge, but also be prepared to adapt to it and embrace it. We are all born with an innate desire to learn new concepts, not just the ones which are expected out of human development, but also those that bring us happiness, satiate our curiosity, and even those which have no measurable benefit at all. But somewhere along the way, we stop learning. That is a fixed mindset. What we need to do is, we know that our best growth happens in times of struggle, which is the basis of having a student or a curious or a growth mindset. So growth mindset is the idea when meeting a challenge, we respond with not that I can't do this, but rather how can I learn to do this? Carol Dweck one of the pioneers of fixed versus growth mindset, says that praise can promote a fixed mindset in children. The same is true of ourselves. While we should respond with self-encouragement after failing, we should also hold ourselves accountable. Don't let ourselves off the hook too easily. So, for every small need of a man, he is very dependent on technology today. Technology drives our world. Engineers implement technologies to create a new emerging world order. Science and innovation gained importance right from fire and the wheel at the earliest stages of civilization. From there began nascent engineering creations, gradually creating analog wonder systems. With the IT revolution in the 1980s, concept of digitalization took over the world. Digital transformation, digitally enabled operations, and overall a digital world rules the roost today. All this is possible due to the advent of modern engineering principles. Without engineers, mixers and blenders won't rule our kitchens today. Time is testimony that the most excellent engineers in the world have created the best marvels across the globe. Engineers have simplified our lives. They have brought simplicity in place of complex processes. Online transactions, online learning, online businesses, and the world today is a big online marketplace. The engineering field guides technology and extracts hidden innovations to develop better versions of products every day. This is precisely the reason why we celebrate engineers and commemorate their contributions and achievements on the Engineering Day like this. Let us devote this day to all the super brains transforming world space into a digital revolution. Before I end, I wish to once again thank Dr. B.R. Natarajan, all the faculty members, and dear students for patiently hearing me out. I'm very delighted and grateful to you all for providing me this opportunity today to express my thoughts, and wish you all very good luck. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience and wisdom. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Shashvi Chauhan, third year BTech Chemical Engineering student, ICE Club, to say a few words.
Teacher, you should open your camera also, na?
Thank you, teacher.
Hello.
So should I start?
Yeah, you start.
Okay. Someone who does precision guesswork based on unreliable data provided by those of questionable knowledge. Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but yes, we are engineers. I'm sure that everyone in the meeting would like to say to Mr. Ayush Agarwal, Mr. Prateek Kumar, Ms. Pragati Sharma, Ms. Nishta Gupta, how much we have enjoyed sitting under their wing today. I want to extend my generous thanks to Mr. K.S. Viswanathan and Mr. Pradeep Mishra, who has come from long distances for their support and cooperation. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to the speakers, Samya Arora of Chemical Branch, Urvashi Tomar of Computer Science Branch, Anshika Agarwal from Mechatronics, and Parul Dand from Electronics Branch, who spared time from their busiest schedule to grace the occasion. A special mention to our HOD sir, Dr. B.R. Natarajan, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillar of strength. With a deep sense of appreciation, we thank our loving teachers for their untiring efforts. An event like this cannot happen overnight. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very proactive and dedicated person. I would like to thank the people who worked behind the scene to make this event happen. Atisha Singh, President of ICE Club, and Aditi Singh, Vice President of ICE Club. I would like to say my heartfelt thanks to all those who have supported us by attending this session. I, Yashasvi Chauhan, on the behalf of Innovative Chemical Engineers Club, thank everyone for such an appreciating involvement
and the willingness they have expressed to finish the task. And in the end, I would just like to say that scientists invented the world that already exists, but we, engineers, create the world that never existed. So we are proud to be an engineer. With this conclusion, wishing you all a very happy Engineers Day. Thank you. And I would like to call Rajan sir to conclude the program.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you. You made my last Engineers Day a memorable one. Thank you all. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Good luck and goodbye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you, sir.